Hey guys, tonight we're taking a journey back in time, all the way to ancient India, to uncover the surprisingly rich history of something you probably don't even think about until you desperately need one: the umbrella. Imagine, if you will, the scent of petrichor heavy in the air, a low rumble on the horizon, and then, boom, the heavens open. You're caught in a torrential downpour, clothes plastered to your skin, vision blurred by sheets of water, feeling that primal urge for shelter. You probably won't survive this without a serious case of the sniffles, or worse, a truly bad hair day for an entire week. It's that feeling of sudden vulnerability that sparks innovation, isn't it? So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, let me know your location and local time in the comments. I always love seeing where you're all tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You find yourself standing on the sun-baked earth of the Indian subcontinent, sometime around 3000 BCE. The air is thick with humidity, a prelude to the dramatic performance the skies are about to put on. For months, the sun has been relentless, baking the land, cracking the soil into intricate patterns like a forgotten mosaic. You've grown accustomed to the dust, to the constant squinting against the glare, the desperate search for any sliver of shade under a banyan tree, but then a subtle shift. The wind picks up, carrying with it a new earthy scent, the unmistakable aroma of distant rain. It's a scent that brings both immense relief and a touch of dread. Because in ancient India, when it rained, it really rained. Historians still argue whether the monsoon season was even more intense millennia ago. But archaeological evidence, coupled with ancient texts, paints a picture of annual deluges that would make your modern-day flash flood warnings seem quaint. You're not just talking about a gentle shower. Imagine days, sometimes weeks, of relentless pounding rain. Rivers swell, overflowing their banks, transforming familiar landscapes into vast, muddy lakes. The carefully constructed mud brick homes begin to dissolve. The unpaved paths turn into treacherous, slippery quagmires. Life itself grinds to a halt as communities huddle indoors, waiting for the storm to pass. This isn't just an inconvenience. It's a force of nature that shapes agriculture, architecture, and indeed, daily life. You can practically hear the drumming of the raindrops on the ancient leaves, feel the damp chill seeping into your bones. The sheer power of these storms was a constant, undeniable presence, a biennial reminder of humanity's smallness against the grandeur of nature. One mainstream historical fact we know is that the Indus Valley civilization, one of the world's earliest urban cultures, was profoundly shaped by these monsoon patterns. Their sophisticated water management systems, including advanced drainage and reservoirs, weren't just about irrigation. They were also crucial for mitigating the destructive power of the annual floods. They understood intimately the double-edged sword of the rain, life-giving water on one hand, and relentless destruction on the other. It's like living in a love-hate relationship with a very dramatic partner, isn't it? You need them, but oh, do they make a scene sometimes? Now, for a quirky tidbit, some early agricultural myths from the region depict rain as the tears of a celestial being or the milk of a divine cow. Imagine explaining to your kids, "Don't worry, darling, it's just the sky cow having a good cry." It adds a poetic, almost tender layer to an otherwise terrifying natural phenomenon. This blend of reverence and fear fueled a persistent need for protection, not just for crops and homes, but for the individual caught under the deluge. You'd think they'd just build bigger roofs, right? But what happens when you need to step outside, even for a moment, to check on your livestock or greet a passing trader? That's where the nascent idea of personal, portable shelter begins to germinate. The simple, undeniable truth is that humans, bless their stubborn hearts, do not like getting wet unnecessarily, especially not for weeks on end. As the torrential downpour continues, you find yourself instinctively seeking refuge. The earliest forms of shelter in this ancient landscape weren't engineered structures, but nature's own offerings. Imagine you're caught in one of those sudden, unannounced deluges. Your immediate instinct, before any complex thought arises, is to find cover. You spot a cluster of broadleaf trees, perhaps a towering banana plant or a wild palm. You quickly duck beneath its expansive fronds, feeling the immediate, though temporary, relief as the drumming rain turns into a softer patter above your head. It's not perfect. Water still drips through the gaps, but it's infinitely better than standing exposed. This primal act of finding natural canopy is, in essence, the very first step toward the invention of the umbrella. You're simply using what the earth provides, a direct solution to an immediate problem. These natural shelters, while rudimentary, offered vital lessons. They demonstrated the principle of deflection. A large, impervious surface held above your head could push water away, creating a dry zone beneath. You'd notice how the water would run off the waxy surface of a large leaf, channeling it downwards and outwards, away from your body. It's like discovering the laws of physics without a textbook, just by getting really, really wet. You might even laugh a little, a slightly hysterical chuckle, as you huddle, observing the water sheeting off the leaves, thinking, there has to be a better way to do this than hugging a tree every time it rains. Over time, this observation would evolve. You might start to pick up particular large leaves or fronds that had fallen, holding them over your head as you dashed from one temporary shelter to another. Perhaps you'd even notice how effectively a dried palm frond, with its natural stiffness and broad surface, could serve this purpose. This is where the true innovation begins, taking a natural object and adapting it for personal use. It's not yet an umbrella, not by a long shot, but it's the embryonic stage, the very first spark of an idea. Historians still argue whether the earliest intentional use of such natural shelters was primarily for sun or rain protection, but given the severity of the monsoon and the sheer practicality, it's highly probable both needs spurred this early adaptation. One mainstream historical fact is that early human settlements around the world, including those in the Indian subcontinent, often developed in areas with abundant natural resources, including large leaf flora. These plants provided not just food and building materials, but also immediate, accessible protection from the elements. Think of the broad, sheltering leaves of a giant taro plant, or the overlapping fronds of certain palms. They're practically pre-made parasols. It's the original DIY kit, courtesy of Mother Nature. A quirky tidbit from this period involves some ancient communities fashioning crude head coverings out of interwoven leaves and reeds, not unlike a very wide-brimmed rustic hat. While not truly an umbrella, these elaborate headpieces served a similar function, keeping both sun and rain off the wearer's face and shoulders. Imagine the fashion statement. You're basically walking around with a small, biodegradable gazebo on your head. It probably wasn't winning any style awards at the time, but it certainly beat having rainwater running down your neck. The ingenuity, even at such a basic level, is astounding. It speaks to a deep-seated human desire for comfort and control over our environment. You can almost feel the texture of the rough leaves in your hands, smell their fresh green scent mixed with the damp earth. The act is simple, almost unconscious, but it's loaded with significance. From this basic interaction with nature, from observing how water flows and how surfaces block it, the complex mechanisms of a modern umbrella would eventually unfold. It's a gentle reminder that some of the greatest inventions start with the most elementary observations. You're not just avoiding a soaking. You're laying the groundwork for millennia of innovation, one dripping leaf at a time. The next time you pop open your umbrella, spare a thought for that ancient you, huddling under a giant leaf, probably muttering about the humidity. From the humble leaf shelter, you now fast forward slightly stepping into a different kind of clearing, not a forest, but an emerging societal structure where status, not just survival, begins to dictate innovation. The sun still beats down and the monsoons still rage, but the purpose of portable shade begins to transform. You're no longer just an individual trying to stay dry. You're observing a society where distinctions are becoming increasingly important. Suddenly, you notice certain individuals, likely those of significant standing, chieftains, priests, or nascent royalty, being afforded a level of protection from the elements that others simply aren't. This isn't about avoiding a drenching anymore. It's about making a statement. Imagine a procession in an early Indian kingdom. The air is thick with the murmur of the crowd, the scent of incense, and the faint clang of ceremonial bells. As the Raja or king is carried through the streets, you notice something striking. Above his head, held aloft by an attendant, is not a simple leaf, but a more elaborately constructed canopy. It might still be made of large woven leaves or perhaps an early form of stretched fabric, but its key characteristic is its deliberate presentation and its exclusive association with the ruler. This isn't just practical. It's profoundly symbolic. This, my friend, is where the umbrella truly begins its journey as a status symbol. The transition from a utilitarian object to an emblem of power is a fascinating one. Why the umbrella? Well, consider its immediate visual impact. Held above an individual, it literally elevates them, setting them apart from the common folk who trudge along under the open sky. It provides a personal aura of protection and comfort, even amidst the elements, signifying that this person is so important, so revered that even the sun and rain dare not touch them directly. It's like having a personal force field, but much more stylish and less sci-fi. Historians still argue whether the concept of the umbrella as a status symbol originated primarily in India, or whether it developed concurrently in other early civilizations like Egypt or Mesopotamia. But the evidence for its deep roots in ancient Indian royalty is undeniable. One mainstream historical fact is that early Indian texts, such as the Rig Veda and later Buddhist and Jain scriptures, frequently mention royal parasols as insignia of power and spiritual authority. These weren't just practical items. They were objects imbued with immense symbolic weight, often depicted as part of a king's regalia alongside crowns and scepters. The number of tiered parasols held over a ruler could even denote their specific rank, with the most powerful kings sometimes having 7 or more tiers. Imagine the logistics of holding that up. Here's a quirky tidbit. In some ancient Indian traditions, the shadow cast by the royal umbrella was considered sacred. To stand within its shadow was to be blessed by the king's presence and protection. So it wasn't just the physical object, but its very absence of direct sunlight or rain that carried a divine resonance. You're not just getting out of the sun. You're basking in the glory of absolute power. It's a pretty clever way to reinforce authority, isn't it? Yes, peasants, not only am I protected from the sun, but my shadow is also better than your entire life savings. This shift marks a critical point in the umbrella's history. It moves beyond mere utility and enters the realm of cultural significance. The act of carrying or being carried under an umbrella becomes an elaborate ritual, a public declaration of one's elevated position. You can almost feel the weight of expectation, the gaze of the crowd, as you watch these early royal umbrellas glide by. They are not just objects. They are statements carved into the very air, proclaiming who holds the power, who commands respect, and who, even in the harshest sun or the heaviest rain, remains untouched by the common struggles of the world. It's a stark visual hierarchy made manifest by a simple, yet profoundly symbolic, piece of portable shade. Having witnessed the umbrella's ascent from humble leaf to royal emblem, you now turn your attention to the ingenious minds that began to refine its very structure. No longer content with merely holding a large leaf or hastily woven mat, the demand for more durable, more elegant, and more functional royal canopies spurred significant design evolution. You're stepping into the workshops of ancient India, where early artisans, fueled by a combination of necessity and the prestige associated with their craft, are experimenting with materials and construction. Imagine a craftsman, perhaps in a bustling market town, or within the confines of a royal palace's artisanal quarter. He's not just looking at a banana leaf anymore. He's thinking about engineering. He's observing the flexibility of reeds, the strength of bamboo, the tensile properties of various animal hides or woven plant fibers. How do you create something that can be opened and closed, or at least easily transported and maintain its shape? How do you make it strong enough to withstand a monsoon downpour, yet light enough to be carried by an attendant for hours? These were the questions driving innovation. The earliest improvements likely involved creating a more robust framework. Instead of a single pliable leaf, you'd see the integration of slender sticks, perhaps bamboo or specially treated wood, arranged radially like spokes. These would be lashed together at a central point, forming a rudimentary skeleton over which larger, more resilient materials could be stretched. Think of it as the original tent pole structure, but for a single person. This framework would then be covered with broader leaves, thicker woven grasses, or eventually early forms of treated fabric, perhaps cotton, which was widely cultivated in India, or even silk, brought from further east. The goal was simple: greater durability and a more consistent, wider area of protection. One mainstream historical fact is that the use of bamboo as a primary structural material was prevalent across ancient India and East Asia due to its remarkable strength-to-weight ratio and abundant availability. For the umbrella, bamboo offered the perfect balance. It was flexible enough to be shaped and strong enough to resist the wind and the weight of accumulated rainwater. You can almost hear the rhythmic snip-snip of the craftsman's tools as he prepares the bamboo spokes, followed by the careful lashing with natural fibers. It's a testament to their understanding of materials science long before those words existed. Historians still argue whether the concept of a truly collapsible umbrella, in the sense of one that folds down, originated independently in India, or whether early Indian designs influenced or were influenced by innovations in China. Early Indian depictions often show solid, non-collapsible parasols, sometimes with removable staffs, but the fundamental idea of a framed canopy was certainly established. The earliest Indian umbrellas were likely more akin to fixed sunshades or ceremonial canopies carried by hand or mounted on a pole, rather than the compact folding kind we know today. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some of the more elaborate royal umbrellas were not just covered in fabric, but adorned with precious metals, jewels, and intricate embroidery. Imagine lugging around an umbrella that probably cost more than a small village. These weren't just functional items. They were mobile works of art, glittering under the sun, further emphasizing the immense wealth and power of the person beneath them. You can almost picture the sparkle, the rich dyes, the sheer opulence of it all. Truly a spectacle. It's like turning a rain shield into a moving chandelier. The development was gradual, a series of small, incremental improvements. From a large, natural frond, to a simple frame covered in leaves, to a more sophisticated structure draped with fabric and adorned with splendor. Each step moved the object further from its natural origins and closer to a deliberately engineered tool. You can feel the evolution in your mind's eye, a slow but steady march towards greater sophistication. The artisans weren't just making things. They were solving problems, combining practicality with the growing demand for symbols of prestige. It was a fascinating blend of form and function, taking shape under the skilled hands of ancient Indian craftsmen. Having explored the structural evolution of the umbrella, you now delve deeper, moving beyond its material form to uncover the profound layers of meaning it accumulated in ancient Indian culture. This isn't just about shade or rain protection anymore. It's about the very fabric of belief, philosophy, and cosmology. The umbrella, or chhatra as it was often called, became far more than a physical object. It transformed into a powerful symbol, deeply intertwined with spiritual significance. Imagine yourself in a temple, the air heavy with the scent of jasmine and the soft chanting of mantras. You see deities depicted with multiple arms, each holding symbolic objects, and frequently, a grand tiered umbrella hovers above their heads. This isn't mere decoration. In the spiritual landscape of ancient India, the umbrella became a universal symbol of protection, sovereignty, and divine authority. It was seen as a cosmic dome, shielding the worthy from all harm, both physical and spiritual. It represented the expanse of the sky, sheltering the earth beneath, a microcosm of the heavens itself. This symbolic weight meant that the umbrella appeared in various religious contexts, from Hinduism and Buddhism to Jainism. In Buddhism, for example, the chhatra is one of the 8 auspicious symbols, Ashtamangala. It symbolizes the protection of sentient beings from evil forces, illness, and obstacles, as well as the dignity and royalty of the Buddha's teachings. It's like a spiritual bodyguard, ensuring a safe passage through the chaos of existence. Historians still argue whether the spiritual symbolism of the umbrella arose first in India and then spread with the Buddhist religion, or if similar symbolic meanings developed independently in other cultures that later adopted the parasol. However, its prominent role in early Indian religious iconography is undeniable. One mainstream historical fact is the consistent depiction of the umbrella in early Buddhist art, dating back to the Sanchi and Bharhut stupas, dating to the 3rd century BCE to 1st century CE. Here, the Buddha, even before his anthropomorphic representation became common, was often symbolized by an umbrella atop a stupa, signifying his enlightenment and universal sovereignty. You can almost feel the reverence, the quiet awe, as you contemplate these ancient carvings, recognizing the endearing power of this simple yet profound image. Here's a quirky tidbit. In some esoteric tantric practices, visualizing oneself beneath a multi-tiered, jeweled umbrella was a meditation technique used to invoke divine protection and enhance spiritual authority. It wasn't enough to physically possess an umbrella. One had to mentally inhabit its protective aura. Imagine trying to meditate while simultaneously trying to picture a diamond-studded parasol hovering over your head. It sounds a bit like an ancient version of a guided visualization app, doesn't it? Now, slowly visualize the golden rays glinting off your ethereal umbrella, ... The umbrella's symbolism wasn't just confined to the divine. It also reflected the earthly hierarchy, as you remember from the royal processions. The king, being seen as a living embodiment or representative of divine power, naturally adopted the umbrella as an extension of his sacred right to rule. The more elaborate the umbrella, the more tiers it possessed, the greater the spiritual and temporal authority it conveyed. It was a tangible link between the celestial and the terrestrial, a physical manifestation of an invisible power structure. You begin to understand that the act of holding an umbrella, or being sheltered by one, was not a trivial matter. It was imbued with a deep cultural understanding of hierarchy, protection, and spiritual grace. When you see an ancient painting or sculpture featuring an umbrella, you now recognize it as more than just an item of everyday life. You see a coded message, a spiritual emblem, a testament to the intricate worldview of ancient India. It's a journey into the soul of a civilization, guided by the very object that keeps the rain off your head. Having journeyed through the symbolic realms of the ancient Indian umbrella, you now step behind the scenes into the bustling, vibrant world of the artisans who breathed physical life into these significant objects. This is where raw materials met skilled hands, where practical knowledge and artistic flair converged to create items that were both functional and beautiful, simple yet profound. You're entering the workshops, a place of industry and meticulous detail, where the chatra truly took form. Imagine the organized chaos of such a space. The air might be filled with the subtle scent of wood shavings, the earthy smell of various fibers, and perhaps the faint tang of natural dyes. You hear the rhythmic tap-tap of a hammer, the whisper of fabric being stretched, the low hum of concentration from skilled hands. These weren't just general laborers. These were specialized craftsmen, often part of hereditary guilds, whose expertise was passed down through generations. They were the unsung heroes who translated abstract concepts of royalty and divinity into tangible objects. The crafting of an ancient Indian umbrella was a multi-stage process, demanding a variety of skills. First, there was the selection and preparation of the framework materials. As you remember, bamboo was a favorite choice. Artisans would meticulously select bamboo poles of the right age and diameter, splitting and shaping them into slender, yet sturdy ribs and a central shaft. These would then be carefully treated, perhaps cured or oiled, to enhance their durability and resistance to moisture and insects. It's like a precise operation, ensuring every bone in the umbrella's skeleton is perfect. Next came the covering. Early umbrellas might have used large treated leaves or woven reeds, but as technology advanced, textiles became paramount. Cotton, silk, or even finely woven wool were stretched over the frame. This involved expert weaving, tailoring, and often elaborate embroidery. The fabric might be dyed vibrant colors, reflecting the status of the owner, deep reds for royalty, perhaps saffron for spiritual leaders. Historians still argue whether certain dyeing techniques were indigenous to India or perfected through trade with other ancient civilizations. But the sheer artistry involved in creating these richly colored and often intricately patterned fabrics is undeniable. One mainstream historical fact is the advanced state of textile production and dyeing in ancient India. Indian cotton, known for its fine quality, was highly sought after and exported even in ancient times. This meant that the materials available for umbrella coverings were often of exceptional quality, allowing for both durability and aesthetic appeal. You can almost feel the soft yet strong texture of the hand-woven cloth. Imagine the vibrant pigments holding fast against the sun and rain. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some royal umbrellas featured tiny bells or decorative tassels made of silk, or even strung pearls along their edges. When carried, these additions would create a gentle tinkling sound or a shimmering effect, further enhancing the grand spectacle. Imagine the king strolling by, not just under a magnificent canopy, but also accompanied by his own personal portable soundtrack. It adds another sensory layer to the experience, making the umbrella not just a visual, but an auditory and tactile feast. Finally, the assembly required precision. The spokes needed to be securely attached to the central shaft, often using intricate lashing techniques or early forms of metal fittings. The covering then had to be stretched taut and firmly secured to the framework, ensuring it wouldn't flap or tear in the wind. And for the more elaborate chatras, the finishing touches included adding embellishments, precious stones, gold thread, or intricate painted designs. You can see the focused gaze of the artisan as they meticulously set a small jewel, ensuring it catches the light just so. The craftsmanship involved was a testament to the sophistication of ancient Indian society. These umbrellas weren't mass-produced items. Each was a labor of love, a reflection of the dedication and skill of the artisans who made them. They were, in many ways, living embodiments of cultural values, sheltering kings and gods alike with their beauty and precision. You've seen the Indian umbrella evolve from a simple leaf to a symbol of divine and royal authority, meticulously crafted by skilled artisans. Now you'll witness its journey beyond the subcontinent. Like many great innovations and cultural expressions, the umbrella wasn't destined to remain confined to its place of origin. It was too practical, too symbolic, and frankly, too stylish to stay put. You are now observing the slow but steady outward ripple of Indian influence, carried by merchants, diplomats, and cultural exchanges across ancient trade routes. Imagine the bustling ports along India's coastline, or the caravan trails snaking through mountain passes and arid plains. Here, the goods of all kinds are exchanged: spices, textiles, precious stones, and ideas. Among these treasures, a curious and impressive object begins to catch the eye of foreign traders: the Indian parasol. Its elegance, its protective capabilities, and especially its association with power and prestige made it an immediate object of fascination and desire. You can almost hear the haggling, the murmurs of curiosity as a merchant from Persia or Mesopotamia first encounters one of these majestic canopies. The Silk Road, that legendary network of trade routes connecting East and West, played a crucial role in this dissemination. While primarily known for silk, it facilitated the exchange of countless other items, including the concepts and designs behind the umbrella. It wasn't always a direct transfer. Sometimes it was an adaptation, a reinterpretation, but the core idea of a portable frame canopy for personal protection spread. You can picture it: a Central Asian chieftain, impressed by a diplomatic gift from an Indian king, commissioning his own artisans to replicate the splendid parasol, perhaps adapting the materials to local availability. One mainstream historical fact is the significant maritime trade between ancient India and the Roman Empire, as well as with Southeast Asian kingdoms. Roman writers like Pliny the Elder mention the vast quantities of Indian goods flowing into Rome, and while specific mentions of umbrellas are scarce in early Roman texts, the general cultural exchange was profound. It's plausible that the concept, if not the physical object itself, reached Rome and other regions through these bustling sea lanes. You can almost feel the spray of the ocean against your face as a ship laden with exotic cargo, including perhaps a few ceremonial parasols, set sail for distant shores. Historians still argue whether the umbrella's spread was primarily driven by its practical utility against the sun, its symbolic value as an emblem of royalty, or a combination of both. Given the Mediterranean climate, sun protection seems a strong motivator for Western adoption, while in Southeast Asian cultures, its religious and royal symbolism, akin to India's, was often equally important. It's like trying to untangle which came first, the chicken or the very useful, very fancy egg shelter. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some accounts suggest that the earliest Roman adoption of the parasol might have been by women of high society, who used them to protect their delicate complexions from the sun while attending public events. Imagine a Roman matron carefully holding her imported, probably brightly colored parasol as she watched chariot races in the Circus Maximus. It's a blend of practical sun protection and a subtle display of wealth and fashion, a true ancient trendsetter. She's not just avoiding a tan. She's making a statement. Yes, I am both wealthy and I hate wrinkles. This outward journey wasn't just about the umbrella itself. It was about the diffusion of a sophisticated idea. It demonstrated how human ingenuity, born from a specific need and elevated by cultural significance, could transcend geographical and linguistic barriers. From the dusty plains of India, carried by the winds of trade and the currents of cultural exchange, the umbrella began its global odyssey. It was no longer just an Indian phenomenon. It was becoming a universal concept, ready to be adopted, adapted, and reinvented by new civilizations. As the Indian umbrella embarked on its global journey, you now trace its path westward, specifically to the vibrant and sophisticated societies of ancient Greece and Rome. Here, the umbrella wasn't just adopted. It was absorbed into a different cultural context, its function and symbolism subtly shifting. You're stepping into the sun-drenched plazas and bustling forums of the Mediterranean world, where the needs and aesthetics were distinctly different from those of ancient India. Imagine a scene in classical Athens or imperial Rome. The Mediterranean sun is brilliant, almost blinding, beating down on marble structures and crowded streets. While these cultures certainly experience rain, it wasn't the relentless, weeks-long monsoon of India. Sun protection, therefore, often took precedence in their adaptation of the portable canopy. The Greek term for an umbrella was skyadion, meaning shade maker, a clear indicator of its primary purpose. The earliest appearances of parasols in the Greco-Roman world are often associated with women, particularly those of high social standing. You can picture a group of elegant Athenian women, perhaps attending a religious festival or an outdoor symposium, each accompanied by an attendant holding a skyadion over her head. This wasn't just about comfort. It was also about aesthetics and social norms. Pale skin was often a marker of nobility and beauty, distinguishing the leisured class from those who toiled under the sun. So, the parasol served as a very visible signifier of status and refinement. One mainstream historical fact is the depiction of parasols in ancient Greek vase paintings and Roman frescoes. These artistic representations show both men and women using them, though initially, their use by men might have been seen as somewhat effeminate or theatrical. Over time, however, particularly in Rome, their use expanded, especially among the wealthy during public events or chariot races, offering a practical escape from the relentless sun. You can almost see the vibrant colors of the frescoes, depicting these elegant figures with their unique sunshades. Historians still argue whether the Greco-Roman parasol was a direct import of the Indian chhatra, or whether it was an independent invention influenced by various Eastern designs. While the concept of a portable canopy for shade likely diffused from the East, the specific forms and cultural interpretations were distinctly Greco-Roman. It's less a direct copy and more an example of cultural cross-pollination, where an idea takes root and blossoms into something new. It's like taking an Indian recipe and giving it a Mediterranean twist, adding a dash of olive oil and some local herbs. Here's a quirky tidbit. During some Roman public games or theatrical performances, giant canvas awnings or velaria were stretched over the audience to provide shade. While not personal umbrellas, these massive structures show a similar cultural drive to control the elements for comfort. It's almost as if the personal parasol was a miniature version of these grand architectural sunscreens. Imagine the logistics of unfurling one of those. You'd need a small army, not just an attendant. Unlike the multi-tiered, heavily symbolic chhatra of India, the Greco-Roman parasol was generally simpler in design, often a flat, circular canopy, sometimes adorned, but typically less ornate than its Eastern counterparts. Its primary role was practical sun protection, though it still carried a certain social cachet. It wasn't associated with divine sovereignty in the same way, but it certainly marked you as someone who could afford to avoid the scorching sun. You see how an object can shed some of its original layers of meaning as it travels, taking on new cultural nuances. The umbrella, in the hands of the Greeks and Romans, became less about celestial protection and more about earthly comfort and social distinction. It transformed from a sacred emblem into a fashionable accessory and a practical shield against the relentless Mediterranean sun. It's a testament to the adaptability of human invention, proving that a good idea, no matter its origin, will find a way to make itself useful, and perhaps even a little bit fabulous in any culture. Having witnessed the umbrella's journey west to the Mediterranean, you now shift your gaze eastward, tracing a different, yet equally fascinating, lineage of umbrella innovation in ancient China. While India was certainly a cradle for the chhatra, China developed its own distinct and equally influential traditions concerning the portable canopy, contributing significantly to its global evolution. You're now stepping into a world of silk, bamboo, and intricate craftsmanship, where the umbrella took on unique forms and functions. Imagine the fertile plains and bustling cities of ancient China, perhaps during the Han or Tang dynasties. Here too, both scorching sun and heavy rains were common, creating a dual need for protection. However, Chinese ingenuity, particularly in materials like silk and the widespread use of lacquering, led to distinctive advancements. The Chinese term for umbrella, san, often evokes the image of a structure combining woven elements and a frame, similar to a traditional hat or canopy. One of the most significant contributions from China was the development of the truly waterproof and collapsible umbrella. While early Indian umbrellas were often rigid or had removable shafts, Chinese artisans perfected mechanisms that allowed the canopy to fold down compactly along its spokes. This made the umbrella far more portable and convenient, revolutionizing its practicality. You can almost hear the soft click as an ancient Chinese umbrella, made with a bamboo frame and oiled silk, is elegantly opened or closed. This was a game changer, moving beyond mere shade to true on-demand weather protection. One mainstream historical fact is the invention of oiled paper or silk for umbrella coverings in China, often attributed to the 4th century CE, if not earlier. By treating these materials with lacquers or oils derived from tung tree seeds, Chinese artisans created waterproof surfaces that were still lightweight and durable. This innovation was crucial for making umbrellas effective rain shields, not just sunshades. It's like discovering the ancient equivalent of Gore-Tex centuries before its time. Historians still argue about the precise independent invention versus cultural diffusion between India and China regarding the umbrella. While both civilizations used the umbrella as a symbol of royalty and status, especially in imperial processions and Buddhist iconography, the specific mechanical innovations for collapsibility and waterproofing seem to have largely originated and been perfected in China. It's a bit like a friendly competition between two brilliant minds, each pushing the boundaries of what's possible with a similar core idea. Here's a quirky tidbit. In ancient China, different colors and designs of umbrellas could signify various ranks and social positions, similar to India. However, there are also accounts of specific umbrella designs being associated with different scholarly or official titles. Imagine needing a particular shade of blue or a specific pattern on your umbrella just to show you passed your imperial exams. It adds a wonderfully bureaucratic, yet elegant, layer to social signaling. Oh, is that a crimson umbrella with a dragon motif? Must be the Grand Imperial Censor coming through. The Chinese umbrella also found deep roots in cultural practices beyond royalty. It was commonly used in wedding ceremonies, where a red umbrella shielded the bride, symbolizing protection from evil spirits and ensuring fertility. It also appeared in traditional theater and dance, becoming a prop that added grace and symbolism to performances. You can almost picture the flowing movements of a dancer, subtly manipulating a beautifully painted umbrella, each gesture imbued with meaning. The enduring influence of Chinese umbrella design is evident even today in many traditional East Asian umbrellas. Their focus on lightweight, durable bamboo frameworks, coupled with waterproof silk or paper coverings, laid the groundwork for many of the functional elements we recognize in modern umbrellas. You're seeing the genesis of true portability and effective rain protection, born from a rich tradition of ingenuity and artistic expression. It's a testament to a civilization that perfected an everyday object into both a practical tool and a work of art. You've witnessed the umbrella's journey from ancient India to the sophisticated adaptations in the Mediterranean and China. Now, prepare for a period of relative quiet, almost a slumber, before its dramatic reemergence in Europe. After its brief flirtation with Greco-Roman society, the umbrella largely faded from common use across much of the continent during the Middle Ages, but like all good stories, this one has a comeback. You're now entering a new chapter where the umbrella sheds its ancient prestige and begins its slow, sometimes awkward, transformation into a widespread, fashionable accessory. Imagine stepping into 16th or 17th century Europe. If you were to spot an umbrella, it would likely be a rare and exotic sight. They were either expensive imports from Asia, brought back by intrepid traders or diplomats, or elaborate curiosities owned by the very wealthy. They weren't yet the ubiquitous item you recognize. For most Europeans, protection from rain meant a heavy cloak or seeking shelter under eaves. The concept of a personal, portable rain shield had largely been forgotten or deemed unnecessary by the general populace. The reintroduction was gradual and often met with skepticism, even ridicule. Early European umbrellas were cumbersome affairs, heavy, clunky, and often made of oiled canvas or leather, stretched over whalebone or wooden frames. They were more akin to small, personal tents than the sleek devices of today. And for men, carrying one was often seen as effeminate. You can almost hear the snickers in the street. Look at that dandy with his rain hider. It's like a fashion statement gone slightly awry, like trying to make a poncho look chic. One mainstream historical fact is that the widespread adoption of the umbrella in Europe is often attributed to the late 17th and 18th centuries. Travelers returning from Asia, particularly than China, brought back reports and examples of these practical devices. Merchants, ever keen to introduce new luxury goods, began importing them, initially for the wealthy aristocracy. You can almost picture the excited whispers in Persian salons as a new exotic accessory makes its grand debut. Historians still argue whether the fashionable adoption of the umbrella in Europe was primarily driven by its practical utility, or its exotic appeal as a status symbol imported from the East. It was likely a blend of both, but the initial allure of novelty and expense certainly played a role in its acceptance among the elite. It was a clear marker that you were worldly, wealthy, and probably just back from an adventurous and likely exaggerated trip to the Orient. Here's a quirky tidbit. One of the most famous figures associated with popularizing the umbrella for men in England was Jonas Hanway, an eccentric traveler and philanthropist in the mid-18th century. For over 30 years, he famously carried an umbrella in public, enduring significant mockery and jeers. He was often pelted with fruit by hackney coachmen, who saw the umbrella as a threat to their business of ferrying people in the rain. Imagine being so committed to staying dry that you literally become a target for flying produce. It's a testament to his sheer stubbornness and perhaps a subtle form of protest against getting wet. The shift truly began when women, always at the forefront of fashion, started adopting smaller, lighter versions, often called parasols, purely for sun protection. These delicate, often lace-trimmed accessories became essential for maintaining fair complexions and adding a touch of elegance to outdoor ensembles. It was acceptable, even chic, for a lady to carry a parasol. The rain umbrella for men, however, took longer to shed its stigma. You're witnessing a fascinating cultural transformation. An object with millennia of history, steeped in deep spiritual and royal significance in the East, was slowly being reintroduced to a continent that largely had forgotten it. It was a journey from sacred symbol to initially a ridiculed oddity and eventually to a practical and indispensable item for the everyday European. The umbrella was finding its feet again, paving the way for its ultimate triumph over the elements. You've seen the umbrella's tentative re-entry into European society, shedding its ancient mystique to become first a curiosity and then a fashionable accessory for the elite. Now prepare to witness its ultimate democratization. The slow artisanal production methods of ancient times simply couldn't keep pace with the growing demand for practical rain protection. The stage is set for a monumental shift, the Industrial Revolution, which would transform the umbrella from a handcrafted luxury into an affordable, mass-produced necessity. Imagine the smoky, bustling factories of 19th century Britain or America. The air hums with the whirring of machinery, the rhythmic clang of metal, and the organized chaos of assembly lines. This is a far cry from the quiet workshops of ancient India or China. Suddenly, the complex task of crafting an umbrella, which once required specialized individual artisans, could be broken down into simpler, repeatable steps performed by machines and factory workers. This era marks the true beginning of the everyman's umbrella. The key to this transformation lay in several technological advancements. The invention of the steel rib, replacing whalebone or heavier wooden spokes, made umbrellas significantly lighter, stronger, and more durable. New textile manufacturing processes allowed for the mass production of cheaper, more consistent waterproof fabrics like treated cotton or early synthetic materials. And crucially, standardized components meant that parts could be made in bulk and assembled efficiently, driving down costs. You can almost hear the rhythmic clack, clack, clack of the machinery, churning out identical ribs, shafts, and handles. One mainstream historical fact is that the mid-19th century saw significant patents for umbrella improvements, notably Samuel Fox's development of the U-shaped steel rib in 1852. This innovation dramatically improved the strength and lightness of the umbrella frame, becoming the industry standard for decades. It's like the iPhone moment for umbrellas, a sleek, durable design that suddenly made all previous versions seem clunky and obsolete. Historians still argue whether the Industrial Revolution's impact on umbrella production was primarily about making them more affordable for the masses or improving their performance and durability. It was undoubtedly a combination of both. Cheaper materials and more efficient production made them accessible, while innovations like steel ribs made them genuinely better at their job. It's the classic win-win for consumers, unless you were one of the traditional artisans whose livelihood was suddenly threatened by these newfangled factories. Here's a quirky tidbit. With mass production came a boom in umbrella shops and street vendors. In Victorian London, you might find umbrella doctors or repairmen, often with small portable stalls, ready to fix a broken rib or recover a torn canopy for a small fee. This shows just how integral umbrellas had become to daily life. They were worth repairing, not just discarding. Imagine a little street cart stacked with broken umbrellas, like a mobile hospital for rain gear. Bring out your bent ribs. The standardization of parts also led to the growth of a global umbrella industry. Raw materials could be sourced from around the world, manufactured into components in one country, and assembled in another. The umbrella became a truly global commodity, a testament to industrial efficiency. You're seeing the genesis of modern consumerism, where everyday items are no longer luxuries but affordable necessities, shaped by the relentless march of technological progress. The shift from custom-made luxury to mass-produced utility fundamentally changed how society viewed the umbrella. It was no longer exclusively a symbol of wealth or a quirky fashion statement. It was a practical tool, an essential item for anyone navigating unpredictable weather. Every household can now afford to have one or even several. The umbrella had completed its long journey from the exclusive domain of kings and deities to the humble hands of the common person, a triumph of industrialization. Having witnessed the umbrella's transformation into a mass-produced item thanks to the Industrial Revolution, you might think its evolution was complete. Not so. Human ingenuity and our eternal quest for convenience ensures that innovation never truly stops. You're now stepping into the 20th century, a time characterized by a relentless drive for efficiency, portability, and personal freedom. This era would bring about the most significant leap in user convenience since the invention of the waterproof canopy itself, the compact and collapsible umbrella. Imagine the bustling, increasingly crowded cities of the mid-20th century. People are on the go, commuting to work, traveling, and living faster-paced lives. The traditional, full-sized umbrella, while effective, was often a cumbersome companion. It was too long to fit comfortably in a briefcase, too awkward for a small purse. and always seemed to get in the way on public transport. The need for something smaller, something that could disappear when not in use, became increasingly apparent. You can almost feel the frustration of trying to navigate a crowded train with a dripping, full-length umbrella poking everyone in the eye. The solution came in the form of telescoping shafts and sophisticated folding mechanisms. Instead of a single, rigid central pole, engineers developed multi-section shafts that could slide into one another, dramatically shortening the umbrella's overall length when closed. Coupled with hinged ribs that allowed the canopy to fold down more tightly, these innovations created the pocket-sized umbrella we often take for granted today. It's like watching a magic trick where a full-sized object shrinks into something incredibly compact. One mainstream historical fact is the invention of the first truly compact telescoping umbrella by Ladislas Stephanovs, who received a patent in 1928 for his design. This revolutionary design paved the way for the telescopic umbrella that could fit into a handbag or glove compartment. This was a game changer, moving beyond mere portability to genuine pocketability. Suddenly, an umbrella wasn't just for preparing for rain. It was for any sudden downpour, ready at a moment's notice. Historians still argue whether the primary driver for these compact designs was urban convenience for commuters or the increasing emphasis on personal style and discreet accessories. It was likely both, but the desire to seamlessly integrate rain protection into a modern, on-the-go lifestyle certainly fueled its rapid adoption. You're looking at a product of its time, designed for a world that valued efficiency above all else. Here's a quirky tidbit. Early compact umbrellas were sometimes prone to snagging or having their mechanisms jam, leading to amusing or frustrating struggles on a rainy street corner. Imagine trying to wrestle open your brand new cutting-edge compact umbrella, only for it to stubbornly refuse to deploy, leaving you drenched in cursing modern ingenuity. It probably felt like a cool joke from the weather gods. Oh, you thought you were clever, did you? Zing, take that, dry person. Further innovations included automatic opening and closing mechanisms, allowing the umbrella to spring open or retract with the push of a button. This added another layer of convenience, especially for those juggling bags or children. The umbrella was no longer just a manual tool. It was becoming a semi-automated device anticipating your needs. You're witnessing the umbrella's ultimate triumph over bulkiness. From majestic, rigid ceremonial canopies to sleek, foldable pockets of protection, its journey reflects humanity's continuous pursuit of practical solutions that integrate seamlessly into our lives. The compact umbrella isn't just an object. It's a symbol of modern convenience, a small marvel of engineering that lets you face the elements without missing a beat or sacrificing your sense of style, unless you buy a truly terrible one, which, let's be honest, we all have. You've tracked the umbrella's journey from ancient Indian majesty to modern compact convenience. But now, it's time to truly appreciate its global reach. The umbrella, while having distinct origins and periods of innovation, didn't just spread as a single standardized item. It was adopted, and reinterpreted by countless cultures around the world, each imbuing it with unique aesthetics, materials, and local significance. You're now embarking on a whirlwind tour, exploring the diverse and often beautiful variations of this universal protector. Imagine yourself traversing different continents and cultures, noticing how the basic concept of a portable canopy takes on fascinating new forms. In some regions, the umbrella remains a vibrant ceremonial object. In others, it's purely practical. Its materials might shift from bamboo and silk to rattan, canvas, or synthetic polymers. The shape, the size, the decorations, everything becomes a reflection of local traditions and available resources. Consider the traditional Japanese bagasa or janome umbrellas. These are often crafted with incredibly intricate bamboo frames and covered with oiled paper, sometimes hand-painted with exquisite designs like cherry blossoms or landscapes. They are not merely rain shields, they are works of art imbued with a delicate beauty and a graceful elegance. The sound of rain on oiled paper is distinct, a softer, more resonant patter than on synthetic fabrics. You can almost feel the smooth, lacquered bamboo handle in your hand, a testament to centuries of refined craftsmanship. Then shift your gaze to Southeast Asia, particularly countries like Thailand and Myanmar. Here, you'll still find vibrant, often hand-painted paper or cotton umbrellas, sometimes adorned with gold leaf or intricate patterns. These can be both functional and ceremonial, used in religious processions, traditional dances, or simply as everyday sunshades. The colors are often bolder, the patterns more ornate, reflecting the rich artistic traditions of the region. It's like a kaleidoscope of canopies, each telling a story. One mainstream historical fact is the incredible diversity in materials used for umbrella coverings globally. From whalebone and silk in historical Europe to oiled paper in East Asia, woven grasses in parts of Africa, and later cotton, nylon, and polyester globally. The choice of material has always been dictated by local availability, technological advancement, and cultural aesthetic. You can practically feel the differences in texture under your fingertips. Historians still argue whether the functional design of the umbrella collapsible frame, waterproof covering evolved entirely independently in various regions, or if there was a continuous, albeit sometimes slow, diffusion of these mechanical concepts across continents. It's likely a complex interplay of both, with core ideas spreading and then being innovated upon locally. It's a bit like different chefs independently inventing variations of soup using local ingredients. Here's a quirky tidbit. In some African cultures, large, colorful parasols were and still are used as important symbols during traditional ceremonies or by tribal elders, not just for protection, but as a sign of respect and authority, echoing the ancient Indian tradition. These can be incredibly large, sometimes needing multiple bearers, creating a grand, moving canopy over important figures. Imagine the sheer visual impact of such a procession, a vibrant tapestry of culture under a sky of colorful umbrellas. Even in modern Western contexts, you see cultural variations from the subtle sophistication of Italian designs to the robust, no-nonsense practicality favored in more famously rainy climates. The umbrella has truly become a chameleon, adapting its form and function to suit the specific needs, tastes, and environmental conditions of every corner of the globe. You're left with a powerful impression of unity and diversity, the fundamental human need for protection from the elements. First recognized by ancient Indians, has been expressed through an astonishing array of designs and artistic expressions. The umbrella isn't just a global commodity. It's a testament to the shared human experience, translated into countless beautiful and practical forms. You've explored the umbrella's journey through history and across diverse cultures. Now, it's time to take a more critical look, to consider the often unseen consequences of its widespread existence, its environmental impact. In our modern world, where consumption often outweighs sustainability, even the humble umbrella, particularly its mass-produced form, carries an ecological footprint. You're now examining the materials, manufacturing processes, and disposal habits that challenge our planet. Imagine the journey of a typical mass-produced umbrella from raw material to landfill. The steel ribs, while durable, require mining and smelting, energy-intensive processes that contribute to carbon emissions. The fabric, often polyester or nylon, is derived from petroleum, a finite resource. These synthetic fabrics are durable and waterproof, but their production also involves chemical processes and significant energy consumption. Even the plastic handles and tips, ubiquitous in cheaper models, are petroleum-based. It's a chain of resource extraction and manufacturing, each step leaving an environmental mark. The sheer volume of umbrellas produced annually is staggering. They are often impulse buys, purchased in moments of sudden downpour, sometimes discarded just as quickly when they break or are lost. How many times have you bought a cheap umbrella only for it to invert in a gust of wind, snapping a rib, and rendering it useless after just one or two uses? This culture of disposability contributes significantly to waste streams. Landfills across the globe are filled with broken umbrellas, their mixed materials making them notoriously difficult to recycle effectively. You can almost see the mountains of discarded canopies, a colorful but poignant monument to our consumer habits. One mainstream historical fact is the significant increase in global plastic production and consumption since the mid-20th century, which directly correlates with the widespread adoption of synthetic fabrics and plastic components in umbrellas. This shift away from more natural materials, while making umbrellas cheaper and more accessible, also introduced a host of new environmental challenges. It's the classic trade-off between convenience and ecological cost. Historians still argue whether the environmental consciousness surrounding everyday products, like umbrellas, is a relatively recent phenomenon, or whether ancient societies, with their often cyclical understanding of resources, harbored a deeper, albeit unarticulated, sense of sustainability. While ancient artisans used natural materials, their scale of production was incomparable to today's, making a direct comparison difficult. But you can imagine an ancient craftsman taking immense care with his materials, knowing their finite nature. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some eco-conscious designers are experimenting with umbrellas, made from fully biodegradable materials, such as bamboo frames, organic cotton canopies treated with natural waxes, or even innovative mushroom-based composites. Imagine an umbrella that, at the end of its life, could simply return to the earth without leaving a trace. It's like turning an object of consumption into a piece of transient art. Don't worry, darling. This umbrella will compost beautifully with your vegetable peelings. The challenge lies not just in materials, but in design for longevity and repairability. A well-made umbrella, designed to last and be easily repaired, is inherently more sustainable than dozens of cheap, disposable ones. Some companies are now focusing on creating high-quality, durable umbrellas with replaceable parts, encouraging a return to a more mindful consumption. You're left pondering the paradox. An object designed to protect us from the elements is, in its modern mass-produced form, contributing to the very environmental degradation that threatens our planet. It's a sobering reminder that every item we choose to buy, even something as seemingly innocuous as an umbrella, has a story beyond its immediate use, a story of resources, waste, and our collective impact on the earth. You've considered the environmental shadow cast by modern umbrellas? Now, let's look forward, peering into the horizon of innovation for this ancient yet ever-evolving device. As technology rapidly advances and our lives become increasingly connected, the umbrella, too, is poised for a new wave of transformation. You're now envisioning the smart umbrella, personalized protection, and even radically new concepts for keeping us dry in a future shaped by data and ingenuity. Imagine a world where your umbrella isn't just a passive shield against the rain, but an active participant in your daily life. Picture this: your smart umbrella is connected to your phone and the local weather forecast. Before you even leave the house, it gives you a gentle haptic reminder if rain is expected. Perhaps it even glows a subtle blue, a silent signal that you should grab it. This isn't just about knowing it will rain. It's about seamless integration into your routine, anticipating your needs before you even realize them. Beyond simple alerts, imagine an umbrella with embedded sensors. It can monitor wind speed, adjusting its tension automatically to prevent inversion and gusts. Perhaps it even has a small, directional LED light embedded in the handle, illuminating your path on a dark, rainy night. or making you more visible to traffic. For the perpetually forgetful, future umbrellas might incorporate GPS trackers, allowing you to locate that stray brolly you left on the bus or at the cafe. No more losing your favorite rain shield. You can almost hear its faint digital ping, guiding you to its location. One mainstream historical fact is the rapid development of IoT, Internet of Things, technology in recent decades, allowing everyday objects to connect to the internet and exchange data. This technological foundation is what makes the concept of a smart umbrella not just science fiction, but a very real near-future possibility. It's the next logical step in making our tools more intelligent and responsive. Historians still argue whether the human desire for ultimate convenience will always outweigh concerns about privacy and data collection, even in seemingly innocuous devices like umbrellas. Will we willingly share our location data with our rain gear for the sake of never getting wet unexpectedly? It's a fascinating ethical tightrope walk that future designers will undoubtedly navigate. Here's a quirky tidbit. Some conceptual designs for future umbrellas include small, integrated solar panels on the canopy. These could potentially charge a small internal battery, powering the umbrella's smart features, or even offering a trickle charge to your phone in emergency. Imagine your umbrella not just protecting you, but becoming a portable power source on a gloomy day. It's like a tiny, personal, renewable energy station in your hand. Looking even further ahead, perhaps the very concept of a physical umbrella might evolve. What about personal force fields, small localized areas of repelling air currents, or even advanced waterproof coatings that could be applied directly to clothing at a molecular level? While these are still firmly in the realm of science fiction, they represent the ultimate goal: effortless, always-on protection from the elements without the need for a cumbersome physical object. You're witnessing the umbrella's journey coming full circle, from a natural shield to a technologically enhanced one, perhaps even back to an invisible shield. From the broadleaf of ancient India to the intelligent, connected device of tomorrow, the fundamental human desire to stay dry and comfortable remains constant. The form may change, the technology may astound, but the spirit of innovation, born from that first splash of rain, continues to drive us forward. The drumming of the rain has softened now, fading into a gentle whisper, much like the echoes of these ancient stories. Your journey through the history of the umbrella, from its humble beginnings in the monsoon-drenched lands of ancient India to the futuristic concepts of tomorrow, draws to a close. Feel the weight of history in your hands, in the memory of the delicate silk, the sturdy bamboo, the whirring of factory machines, and the silent hum of impending smart technology. Close your eyes and let the final images dissolve, feeling the comforting warmth of your bed, safe and dry from all the elements, past, present, and future. Drift now with the gentle rhythm of time, knowing that even the simplest objects carry a universe of stories within their form. Let your mind clear, finding stillness in the quiet, as you fall into a deep and peaceful sleep. Sweet dreams.